All right, welcome back, everyone, to the BGF Podcast. This is episode 5. I'm your host, Gianluca, alongside of
Brandon.
Today we got some very, very big news for you guys. Draft happened 2 days ago, round 1, Thursday night. Today's day 3 of the draft, ending everything off. We're going to cover some news and rumors that happened around the league and the NFL. We're going to go over the draft, winners and losers, who we believe did really well and who did really bad in the draft. But speaking of news and rumors, we got one that just broke maybe 10 minutes ago.
DeAndre Swift is now a Philadelphia Eagle.
And I just still don't understand how this team continues to make moves. They got him for a fourth. I don't understand the trade.
A fourth for a team like the Eagles, that's a risk you got to take now because Rashad Penny is really the RB1 since they lost Miles Sanders. I think even for Detroit now, you take Gibbs in the first round at 12. Swift doesn't really have a spot there. And I think for the Eagles, it's a very good trade.
I agree. I think it's going to help the Eagles out in the long run, but it just seems like every time there's a big trade made, it's the Eagles.
Yeah, this offseason, that's how it's been. Even with the big picks, all those Georgia defenders, it's like everything's just with the Eagles.
Are they rebuilding the Georgia Bulldogs, offense and defense?
Looks like it right now. Even Swift is another player that went to Georgia, so it looks like that's what.
I don't know. I think this is, if they don't win this year, they're done. They have to pay all these players next season.
But I don't think it's all going to be like Devonta Smith is on next year. I know Hurts kicks in next year. Swift, but the thing with a guy like Swift, they could just cut him. Like he's not.
You don't think he's going to be
not
reliable
like
RB1?
No, but I really like DeAndre Swift, but he's very like unreliable in terms of injury concerns. And I think for them, like you didn't invest much into him.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have to pick between other players, like he's gonna be the one that's gonna go. I know Darius Slay re-upped this year, but I don't think, and even Darius Slay, he's an older, was he 34 now? They're expecting to lose him in the coming years. I think that team's gonna stay intact. Like besides Hurts and AJ Brown, these guys aren't really getting paid too much for the next few years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I just want to see another team dominate the NFC.
I just want to see their downfall.
Yeah, we're both NFC guys, so obviously we don't want any other team than ours to win, but good for the Eagles. I mean, making smart moves in an amazing draft once again.
Anyway, speaking of the Eagles, it's going to lead us into our winners and losers for this draft. Our number one winners.
Whoa, why are you going so fast? Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah, true.
Lamar Jackson. Did you see that? $260 million.
Yep, the highest paid player in the NFL, breaking Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had the title for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was crazy. I did not think he was going to break Jalen Hurts' contract, to be completely honest, but he did. Good for Lamar finally getting paid. Not fully guaranteed money like he was rumored to get, but I mean, $260 million. Who's complaining, right?
What do you know what the guarantee is?
I think it's 185. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 185, closer to 190.
Anyway, with the way it was looking, it didn't look like he was gonna get this big time deal, being the highest paid player in the league. I think I'm happy that he got his money. You know what? The guy's a former MVP. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and the disrespect he was getting from other teams and Baltimore themselves was I didn't really like that. So I think good on them now.
First.
And if he plays 65% of the games,
which I think he will hit. So I mean, the Jets basically swapped first for this year, which was whatever, and then next year's first for Aaron Rodgers. Not a bad trade for the Jets. Very good trade for the Packers.
I think it was a pretty fair deal. It was what we were expecting. I just don't like that the condition on the first is like very obtainable. I think it should have been a bit more. Should have been at least playoff, like them making the playoffs or something like that. Because like if it's a disaster season, Rodgers plays the whole way, don't you make the playoffs and you have to give up your first? It's kind of like tough for the Jets. But anyway, they finally got the guy they wanted. They got Rodgers.
Yeah, the Jets think they're going to win a Super Bowl with Rodgers. I wish them nothing but the best. I hope the Jets do it, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, you're a Rodgers hater, so.
But I am a Vikings fan, so
exactly.
You can't listen to me.
I think they'll be definitely making the playoffs because in their division, I think they're better than Miami now. It's just Buffalo. Buffalo's the only one that I think is probably still better than them.
Buffalo's the wild card. That whole division, honestly, is very interesting because you can even make a case for Miami being a good team, especially since they bolstered that defense this offseason.
Yeah, but I just don't trust Tua.
No, I hear you. The Tua concerns are there, that's for sure. But that whole division is nice. You got the Jets, the Bills, and I'm blanking. You got the Dolphins and the Pats. Yeah, it's true.
But I think you can make an argument that they're even better than Buffalo because like their team's well rounded.
They're young.
They're a young, well rounded, good team. Like the Bills,
They got
I don't
an
know what's happening.
ex-49ers coach.
Yeah, but like with what's happening with Von Miller?
I'm not sure if he's gonna be back for week 1. I know he got his surgery done last season.
Yeah.
I think he should be back relatively soon, early on in the season. I'm just not entirely sure if it's week 1. I hope he does. I hope he does come back for the Bills. They were really relying on him, and you saw the impact he had when he did leave. That D-line, that rush just went up in the air and put in flames. It was horrible after that.
Yeah, because he got injured and like towards the end, and that's when it started to go downhill for them. That's when the cracks were there and people were starting to
Russo
doubt
wasn't
them.
hitting. No one was connecting. Ed Oliver was just not the same player. It's because Von Miller commands that two-person presence, and you get rid of a guy like that, where you can isolate Newsome and Ed Oliver. It's just it's a different game.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, now let's move on to what everybody's here to really listen to.
NFL draft.
The draft stuff. So first we're going to go over the winners and losers. Who's your winner?
Honestly, one of my big winners, and I know you're not going to like me for this, but I got the Seattle Seahawks.
As much as I don't like it, I agree also. Seattle had a phenomenal draft.
Phenomenal draft. Drafting Devon Witherspoon in the top 10 alongside a JSN. That's
20.
That's crazy. Imagine a wide receiver group of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN.
Yeah, they're going to be... Geno Smith has a plethora of
Geno
guys
Smith
to
has
throw
a
to.
literally, though, anywhere on the field, anyone can make a play.
Plus, they got Kenneth Walker in the
They
backfield.
have Kenneth Walker in the backfield
they had
and Noah Fant at tight end.
Plus, in the second round yesterday, they had Zach Charbonnet, so that's another two. They have two good backs. Great receiver. Yeah,
receivers.
Noah Fant is solid, but...
Devin Witherspoon and Tyreek Woolen for the next 10 years are going to be dangerous.
Yeah, this I don't like to hear as a Niners fan.
I know as a Niners fan, division rival, but wow, they had one hell of a draft. And they were just patient. They didn't do anything special.
I still think we'll be able to win the division, but like they're definitely gonna give us.
They're gonna give you more of a run than this year. Yeah. I mean, this year was basically the playoffs was one hell of a good first half by them, and then second half just went the opposite direction.
Yeah. Anyway, the other one that we have is pretty obvious. The Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about them earlier. A lot of Georgia Bulldog defenders they took. They took what's it? Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, obviously. Plus pairing them with Jordan Davis and the Kobe Dean. That's a very good defense they got there in Philly.
Basically replaced Javon Hargrave.
Yep. That's by year one, Javon Hargrave is probably going to be better next year, but future-wise, Jalen Carter...
I don't know, man, because that defense is already elite. You just add a guy like Jalen Carter who commands double-team presence, who's not going to get double-team presence.
Looking at Jalen Carter's tape, man, he looks tough.
He's a dog, man. He's a dog in that D-line. He just stuffs everything. He commands two people on him. But now you got, like, already their depth at D-tackle is hilarious. They had so many people that play any time. Now they add another guy on top of it. It's just, it does not make sense. These guys are going to be amazing.
Wow, yeah. Because now they have Hassan Reddick. They got Jalen Carter. They got Josh Sweat.
They still have Fletcher Cox who's doing his
Fletcher
thing.
Cox, wow.
Like, that D-line is just full of amazing play. Their second team D-line is better than any other team's first D-line. Most of the team's first D-lines.
Yeah, that's they're gonna be a problem. Well, they were a problem already, but now it's gonna be even more of a problem to take them on.
It's as if they haven't slowed down, right? Like they got rid of these two guys on defense, which is a big loss. But at the end of the day, you replace them with studs in the draft. It's like, how are they gonna slow down?
Yeah, big picture though. Looking at the NFC, who do you think are the top teams right now? Because I think it's Philly and San Francisco. You're gonna have to put back up there. I think Dallas might be number 3.
I think the Vikings are number 3.
Like, no. Why?
Why? I'm gonna tell you why. Because 2 years ago last year we drafted a shit ton of defensive prospects. Unfortunately, they were injured and they weren't playing. They didn't get the time of day. Under the old regime, we had a few defensive prospects that didn't see game time because of veterans. This year, Kwesi came in, cut everyone, gutted the whole roster on defense. We signed Brian Flores as our DC, which I love. I think this guy's one of the best defensive minds in the NFL, and I know he's going to exploit the rookies that we have that haven't played. Guys like Andrew Booth Jr., Lewis Seen, tore his ACL week 2 last year. This guy was a first-round pick. Wasn't anything crazy, but the amount of hard work he's putting in his recovery is remarkable. And pair him with a guy like Harrison Smith on the other side, who's going to teach him how to blitz, how to hawk the ball in the backfield. It's amazing. Pair him with a guy like Brian Flores, who's very aggressive. That's even better. Then you got a guy like Andrew Booth, Caleb Evans. These guys didn't really see much game time last year. Not their fault. Our defense was horrible. We had this stupid shell coverage that Ed Donatel was running and it just was not working. But now Brian Flores comes in, a lot of man coverage. These guys are fast. These corners are going to stick to their guy, run up and down the field, and make plays.
But do you not think it's going to be a lot of adjustments though? Like I'm hearing, it's like a lot of rookies are coming off.
I do think it is going to be adjustments
with a new DC. Like it's a lot of.
I do think it's going to be a lot of change, but the difference is, offense has not moved. Our offense is still going to be great.
It's going to be better as well with Addison. Now.
It's going to be better with Addison. I'd prefer younger wide receiver 2 versus Thielen. I love Thielen. As a Vikings fan, I think what he did for the team was amazing. It's just his time was up. He commanded 107 targets last year, and then even turned it into 1,000 yards.
Yeah, it was tough.
Like it's sad because I know like 3-4 years ago that would have been easily 1,400 yards. It's just Adam Thielen's not the same guy anymore, and it's fine. It's okay. That's what happens in the NFL. You got to move on. Get a guy like Jordan Addison who can spread the field. He's fast. He's young. You pair him with Jefferson, who commands double team. This guy opening the backfield with T.J. Hawkinson over the top. We're scoring.
Yeah. That was never a problem for them, though, offense last year.
So offense wasn't an issue.
It's really the defense. Now we're going to see if Brian Flores could produce the miracles that Ed Donatel couldn't.
I think Brian Flores is... I don't think the Vikings are going to have an elite defense by any stretch of the word, but they're going to have a very good... Not good, but they're going to have a very average defense.
But that's why talking at the top end of the NFC, like I think the Vikings are going to be a lot better. Maybe they win the division. They're probably the favorites to win the division, but now with the way Detroit's moving, you could see them maybe get top of the division.
I don't like Houston. I don't like Detroit's draft.
But we're talking about Detroit anyway. Like I'm talking about Dallas. I don't think Minnesota can really.
I think we can compete with Dallas. We're gonna see this year. Honestly,
exactly.
I have high hopes. I have high hopes for the Vikings. I'm very excited for the season.
Do you have any more winners?
Another winner and loser I'd like to say was that whole I know you're going to cover two sides of the Houston trade. Arizona trade. Both teams won, in my opinion. Houston got their guy at defense. DeMeco Ryans probably wanted his Bosa, and he found it in Will Anderson. I hope Will Anderson proves why he's the best defensive prospect in this draft, and I know he will. And Arizona just got a huge compensation for that pick. They moved it back 9 spots, and they got a first next year, which is Cleveland's first. Second and a third, I believe.
Good haul.
A very good haul for one pick. Obviously, Houston wanted him. That's their guy. They went for him, and they got him, so good for Houston. But also good on Arizona, staying patient, just trading down, getting what they can, best deal available, and they hit a pretty good deal.
Yeah, for me, I also had Houston and Arizona. I like the way Arizona was obviously able to get good compensation for the third and move the board from 12 and then get back in at 6 and get the guy they ultimately wanted in Paris Johnson, who we know Kyler Murray asked the front office for, so they're pleasing their franchise player doing that. And as for Houston, there was a huge dilemma with them whether it was going to be Stroud or Anderson, and a lot of people have been speculating that it's the people upstairs that want C.J. Stroud, they want the franchise quarterback, and DeMeco Ryans is the one that really wanted to get Will Anderson. So you get best of both worlds in this scenario. You give up a lot, but you got a lot in that Watson trade.
Yeah.
Plus, if these two players end up being all-pro players, potential Hall of Famers, who really cares? You got the guys you think are going to be great, and I think that definitely makes them a win in this draft.
No, essentially looking at it, you traded Will Anderson for next year's first. That's what you did, because Cleveland's first, whatever.
Yeah.
Trade that pick for Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson's probably going to be the best defensive prospect in this year's draft and next year's draft. So I don't know. I just think I like this move both ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think a very good draft. And you got any other winners?
I had the Steelers. I think I like that it was rumored they were going to take Joey Porter at 17. They end up getting him in the second round. Also, they finally get some sort of piece to improve that terrible offensive line.
Yeah, that was horrible last year.
They got Broderick Jones. They also in the third round got a falling Darnell Washington, who I personally really like. So I think I like the Steelers' moves. I don't think they're as big of winners as the Texans, Cards, Eagles, Seahawks, but I think they also had a pretty nice draft that I liked.
Another honorable mention before we move on to the losers, the Patriots trading down and still drafting Christian Gonzalez at 17. That was crazy.
Yeah, I really like that too. They're probably, even for me, I'd say New England is a winner. Christian Gonzalez, I was expecting the Raiders to take him.
Yeah, I was expecting this guy to go top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
And then, okay, fine, Devon Witherspoon, fine, Maybe you can make an argument he's better, sure. But then some of the corners that went earlier, especially the Commanders taking Forbes before, the pick right before him. Speaking that, we'll get into the Commanders after.
Really.
It just, I I did not understand that pick. But anyways, Patriots absolute steal at 17 in Christian Gonzalez, and he's gonna definitely improve that defense. And we all know Bill loves defense, so win-win for the Pats.
They usually don't take like flashy players that people think, oh yeah, that's a good pick. Usually they are completely off the board, so it's nice to see New England for a change be a winner in a draft.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, now on to the losers. I got the Jets. I think you move back whatever 2 spots, you could probably still get the guy. If they take Will McDonald,
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that pick. When you see what's on the board, if they can get a guy like JSN on that team, with pairing him with his college teammate Garrett Wilson, Christian Gonzalez as well, to pair with another great pick from last year, Sauce Gardner. I think there was a lot of opportunity for them to take a much better player that fits for them. And I think Will McDonald, they could have just moved back if they really wanted him. I don't think anyone was going to take him off the board. And yeah, I didn't really like that pick for the Jets, and they're my first loser. How about you?
I got a little division rival here, the Detroit Lions. I just did not understand their draft whatsoever. I mean, yeah, you can make a case that Jamar Gibbs is going to be good, sure, but why do you take him at 6? You could have probably held off on that. Sorry, at 12. Sorry, my bad. At 12, you could have probably held off in the second round. I don't see any other team under them taking a running back. And then their second pick was Jack Campbell, which, okay, he's solid, but I mean, over his 4-year career, he only has 5 picks.
Yeah.
He's a tackling machine, 1,000%. I give it to him. The guy makes tackles, will stop you if you're in his way. But I mean, as an off-ball linebacker, you kind of want to see a little bit more production in the aerial defense, and he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, you know, I disagree on that one with Detroit. I think, you know what, they might have reached on certain players, but there are positions of needs. Like, we know Detroit, after losing Tremaine Edmonds, needed a linebacker. I don't think Jack Campbell should have gone that high, but you know what? They get the guy they want, fits a need on their team, so why not? Plus, with Jahmyr Gibbs, you know how I feel about him and Bijan Robinson. I think these 2 guys are big-time running backs. I think now that Swift's gone, you're going to see how good of a player Gibbs is and how much he can command in the passing game. And without Swift there, I think Gibbs is going to be great for them. So even though you pick him at 12, he was projected to go in the first round. For them, they really wanted to just get him. They don't want to risk someone else taking him, so I think it was a good pick.
I just think there were better players available at that spot. It's like, I mean, you got Broderick Jones, who's still there, the O-line, which...
Yeah, but their offensive line was good last year. Like, they have a good offensive line. They don't need to take an offensive line.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't like the Lions.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, my next one would be the Chicago Bears. They were at 9 in prime position to take Jalen Carter in a position of need for them. They also needed a tackle, which ended up taking Darnell Wright. But I think trading back, only getting a 4th rounder out of that trade, I don't know, they could have done a lot better in that move. And they take Darnell Wright, Jalen Carter ends up going to Philly, and we'll see how it ends up working out. But I think that was a bad move for the Bears, and that's why they're one of my losers.
I also got another division rival, unfortunately, the Green Bay Cheeseheads pick.
I gotta say, you sound like a hater right on.
I am a hater, but it's okay. It's all good. I don't like their pick. Honestly, I thought they needed help on offense. They don't go draft their receiver. They had JSN right there. They go and draft Lucas Van Ness. Sure, edge out of Iowa. You needed help on your O-line. You needed help at receiving. No, screw that. You got a new quarterback. Who cares? He doesn't need any weapons, right?
Yeah, but for years and years, they never really... Green Bay is not known for drafting offensive players in the first round.
I think it's a mistake for Green Bay there. You need to support the young quarterback, especially since it's his first season as a starter. You want to give him weapons. He doesn't really have any weapons. He lost everyone.
Yeah, what are they looking at right now in terms of...
Christian Watson. That's it. But he only catches touchdowns,
Romeo
so who cares?
Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs.
Did they draft... Yeah, they drafted...
Randall Cobb left. Alan Lazard left.
They drafted Sam Laporta, so at least they have...
Sam Laporta, another second-round receiver, but I mean...
No, tight end.
Sorry, tight end, my bad. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand Green Bay. They're one team who has great running backs, but they don't utilize them properly.
Yeah,
I thought that would have been the move last year, but they didn't do that, and I just don't understand the organization. I'm happy they're not doing well, so it's great.
Anyway, with the direction they're going in right now, I think they should probably move on from one of those running backs. Probably Aaron Jones, because at the age he's at and how much money he's making, I don't know how possible it is to really get rid of that contract. But yeah, I don't think they should have two elite running backs when they have absolutely nothing else on offense.
Yeah.
Like, is it really useful? They haven't utilized it well in the past 2 years, so I don't think that's really great utilization of your assets. Anyway, my next losers for me are the Commanders. Like you said earlier, they take Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez. That was a head scratcher. The Commanders, they have a history of doing this now. Even last year, Jahan Dotson, a guy who was projected to go in the second round, they take him at I think 17. They took him.
Mm-hmm.
They like to reach on their players. As a guy who, I'm a Wizards fan for basketball, so I see a lot of Commanders fans on my Twitter timeline. A lot of them weren't happy with this move, and they're just fed up with Ron Rivera, because I think Ron Rivera has a lot to do with these picks. Obviously, he's the head coach, and yeah.
But I think it's also ownership and everything that's going on. I don't know what the hell's happening with that organization. I just feel
Yeah,
like
they sold, so.
they're, I don't know, man. I feel bad for any Commanders fans and
DC sports in general, man. It's not looking
I
good.
just hope Forbes is a great corner. I don't know. I thought they had a chance at greatness in Gonzalez, and they just didn't go that route.
Anyway, Emmanuel Forbes, I know that he has a lot of interceptions,
He's a ball hawker.
but he's short for a corner, so we'll see how it works out for them. But I think Christian Gonzalez on the board. I think he's a surefire, like, great player, and you miss on it, the Pats get him. See what happens. Anyway, now we're gonna go over the draft board from round 1, pick by pick, and yeah, you want to start us off with number
All
1?
right. So number one, obvious here, was Bryce Young. He was Carolina took him at 1.
Yeah,
Bama quarterback, and I mean, no surprise here. I don't think anyone was expecting them to go anywhere else.
Yeah, we talked about him a lot pre-draft, and yeah, it's not really a surprise.
There's
Bryce Young,
that
he's gonna be great for
size,
them.
that little size scare, but I wouldn't be scared. I think Bryce Young is going to be an excellent quarterback. You just got to surround him with weapons, and hopefully Carolina can do that. And good luck to Bryce and his future in the NFL.
Anyway, now 2 and 3 we could do together, both with Houston, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. Another one, we talked at length about these guys. We talked about them earlier in the winners. We think, I think at least it's two great picks, 2 guys you can't really miss on. And I'm just happy for them that didn't overthink these picks and didn't
They didn't do anything crazy.
do a Will Levis or something crazy that
Anything
out of the
rash.
ordinary, yeah, or a Tyree Wilson.
But no, I think they got, in their eyes, their franchise quarterback, and their Joey Bosa.
They're Nick
Bosa, sorry.
Nick
I keep
Bosa
getting
or
confused with the brothers.
Or Micah Parsons.
I mean, that D'Amico comes on over. He wanted the prospect. They get him the prospect. They get him his pieces. So at least he's being heard. He's being respected. And good luck to Houston. I think they have 2 solid players here.
Now let's move on to 4. Anthony Richardson is an Indianapolis Colt. It wasn't Will Levis, where it looked like it was lined up to be him. Doesn't even go in the first round anyway, but that's a different topic. What do you think about Anthony Richardson going to Indy?
Honestly, I like this fit for Richardson. I do think out of the teams here, this would have been where he would have had the chance to start and have a decent shot at being successful. You have weapons around you. You got not Paris Campbell, my God, Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. So that dual threat at running is amazing for a young guy. You got a decent O-line that can kind of protect you, give you time to make reads, and I just hope Anthony Richardson shines and shows this high ceiling upside and why he's been touted as a freak athlete.
Yeah, I also agree. I think that was the right pick. A team like Indy, where they aren't really going anywhere unless they take a big-time swing. I think this is the big swing they needed to take. He's going to have some weapons. Yeah, he's got a good offensive line, one of the better ones in the NFL with guys like Quentin Nelson on it. They drafted Josh Downs as well in the second round, so it gives them a few pieces. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs to throw to, plus JT is going to take a lot of pressure off him. So they should be one of the best rushing teams in the league with Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. I think it was the right piece, and we'll see if Anthony Richardson, with all this potential and ceiling that he has, if he could really become one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, and then at 5, we've got Seattle taking help on that defense with Devon Witherspoon. We spoke about it earlier. I like the pick. I think it's great. Honestly, you could have made a claim for Christian Gonzalez here. No one would have argued you. But Devon Witherspoon, Tyreek Woolen will be very scary for the Seahawks. That will be a pairing that will last for a decade at least. And it's just a great pick here at 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any of the 2 corners would have been great at this spot. I think now you pair him with Tyreek Woolen, you'll have your corner duo for the next 10 years. So I think there's not much more to be said on this pick. It's the right pick.
Great pick, Seattle.
So it's, yeah.
Honestly, you want to do a a grade breakdown for every pick. Like we'll give him like an A, a B.
I like that. That's a good.
All right, so I won't lie. My first 5 picks are probably all going to be an A,
Yeah,
A plus.
These were the consensus guys that should have been going at these spots.
I like all these picks, so I'm giving everyone at the top 5 an A. And
Let's move on to 6.
Move on to 6.
We see Arizona taking Paris Johnson. We heard the reports that Kyler Murray wanted him, so they move down, then move back in to number 6. They get a tackle for Kyler Murray on a team that's probably the worst team in the NFL right now if we're talking about their roster. They're not going to be great next year, so at least they got an offensive tackle. They start rebuilding their team here.
They start protecting Kyler because
exactly.
else he's running like a chicken without a head.
And we saw his film against Will Anderson and how he absolutely neutralized them. So we see how great Paris Johnson is going to be. I think it was the right pick for Arizona. On the grade, I'd probably give it a A-. I'll give it an A-. I don't want to give every pick an A here.
No, I'm going to give it a B+. plus.
B+.
The only reason
Fair.
is because they traded the 33rd on top of the 12th. They added a second, which I didn't like. I think they could have gotten away with a third, but I mean, whatever. They got their tackle. They're protecting Kyler, which is what they wanted to do. Good on the Cardinals, and can't wait to see Paris Johnson play.
Anyway, now moving up to 7, Tyree Wilson, someone who was projected to probably go in the top 5. There was rumors that the Texans might take him over Will Anderson at 2.
Yeah.
Well, they ended up with 2-3, but at the time 2. I think he's going to be very good on the edge with Max Crosby, and if Chandler Jones is still there,
if Chandler Jones is still Chandler Jones, it's going to be an excellent partnership.
So I think that's a good pick as well. I think we right now in the top 10, you can't really go wrong in the top 10 unless you go completely off the board. So Tyree Wilson was a good pick for them. Vegas, their defense last year was absolutely terrible, which is a big reason why they finished low in the standings. I think now with Jimmy G, Devontae Adams, all these guys, their offense will always be good. So hopefully Tyree Wilson can help out that struggling defense.
I like this move a lot. I think I can't argue with you. I gotta agree with everything and just give these guys an A and move on. That was the right pick at that spot.
Now is where it starts to get interesting. We see this is the first running back since Saquon to go top 10?
I believe since Saquon to go top 10, yeah, because Saquon went 5th, right, or 4th?
Second.
No, he went second, right after the quarterback.
You think about it, man.
Yeah,
second overall
on
a running back is crazy. But yeah, Bijan Robinson goes 8 to Atlanta. I think we all know how much I love Bijan Robinson. I think he's gonna walk into the league as a top 2 back. I think he's gonna be very good for Atlanta. But just the way that roster is built right now, where they have an absolutely horrible defense, and guys like Jalen Carter are still on the board. I don't know about that pick. I think they could have done better. I think as a prospect, he'll have the biggest impact. He's a great player. Like, I don't doubt him. I just doubt for the team that's taking him, like Atlanta.
Do you trust Atlanta rookies in fantasy, though? Because, I mean, Kyle Pitts.
Drake London was solid last year. Nothing. It wasn't as good as Garrett Wilson, but he was still pretty solid.
Do you think he commands, like, top 3 in fantasy this season?
I think he's going to be the second best runner.
I know you have him high up there.
It's going to be McCaffrey and then Bijan.
You're going Bijan that high? Okay.
And speaking of these rookie running backs, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a top 10 fantasy running back producer.
Nah, I don't see it. But
anyway,
here,
what do you think about the pick?
I mean, look, Atlanta, if they wanted a running back, this was their guy. This was the one. If Atlanta didn't pick him, I could have seen him going to the Eagles at 10. But like you said, there was still Jalen Carter on the board. I love Jalen Carter. I think they whiffed because they do need help on that D-line. And I think there were better players here, but Bijan Robinson isn't a bad prospect. I just think Atlanta didn't make the right pick here. But I'd give the Falcons a B- because Bijan is still a pretty great prospect, and I think he is going to make an impact. It's just I don't think they would have had as big of an impact as Jalen Carter on this defense.
Yeah, I forgot to give my grade, actually. So for me, I'll give it, like, as a prospect, I give him an A+ grade as a prospect, but I think for the pick and the fit with Atlanta, I'll give it a B. I think there was a lot more they could have done with it. And if they really wanted Bijan, I think they could have moved back and still got him, but that moving back's always a risk, so I don't know. I think it's a B. No. Number 9,
Jalen Carter going to the Philadelphia Eagles, trading up one spot to secure the bag, getting Jalen Carter in. And I mean, I don't have much else to say. I just think this guy's an absolute dog. He's going to dominate that D-line. He's going to be amazing for them. And this is an amazing pick in my eyes. Trading up from 10 to 9, you're just basically swapping first and I think adding a fourth. Amazing pick.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter, I don't know why the Bears didn't take him here, but great pick for the Eagles. I give this a solid A+.
Yeah, me too. Starting off with the grade, I'm going to give it an A+. I think on a team that's as complete as the Eagles, getting a guy like Jalen Carter, who at the end of in 5-10 years, who could prove to be the best player coming out of this draft, to get him at 9, I think was very
He
good
was touted. He was competing with Will Anderson at the beginning of the year, minus all the stuff that happened off the field. Hope he clears all that stuff up, but still.
He could have been the first pick.
He could have been first
if
overall.
Chicago stayed there, he could have been the first pick. And I think, for Philly to get him at 9, not having to pay much to even trade up to the one spot ahead of Chicago to get him, I think that's a big-time win and easily an A+ on that pick.
Yeah, and at number 10, we got Chicago, and they're going and drafting Darnell Wright. He's an offensive tackle coming out of Tennessee. I like this pick a lot. I just don't think it was the right tackle to draft when you still have a guy like Skoronski on the board. I thought he was the better tackle, but that's just personal preference. Either way, they draft a guy who protects Fields, which is what they desperately needed. We saw that last season. Fields was running around the backfield, just trying not to get sacked, making plays with his feet. Hopefully this guy can solidify that O-line, and I think he will. He'll help a lot, but they still need a lot of pieces to help that O-line. It's not complete by any stretch of the imagination, but at least he has a solid tackle, and Darnell Wright, I give this a B.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give it a between A-, B+. I'll go A-. I think this is a position they definitely needed. I just don't like that they had to trade down to do it. I think they probably would have been better off taking Carter on that defensive line. But anyway, Darnell Wright was a position in need. They did what they had to do. We'll see. These tackles always usually transition to the NFL and become like good players. They
transition relatively well, yeah.
So I think it's a safe pick. Good for them. Hopefully now, just because this is really to see what they got with Justin Fields. This is going to be a big-time year for Fields. Now there's no excuses. He's got DJ Moore. He's got
a weapon on offense. A very solid wide receiver 1. He's got a decent running back room.
And he shouldn't be running for... Okay, well, we know he runs.
He's a running back, but I mean...
In the case that, you know what I'm saying, like the sack, that he shouldn't be running for his life now. He's got a decent offensive line, so we'll see what Fields has got. I think the pick is pretty solid. I'll give it a A-.
Yeah, anyways, moving on to number 11, we got another O-lineman off the board in Skoronski, O-tackle out of Northwestern. I think Skoronski is probably one of the best O-linemen in the draft. I have him as my second best. That's why I'm going to give the Titans an A+ here, drafting him at 11. And I think the Titans filled a position of need. They definitely needed help on that O-line. It was horrible last year. The Titans need help in a lot of positions, but filling out that O-line, helping whoever they have a quarterback throw the ball, be phenomenal. I think it's Malik Willis. Not Malik Willis. Will Levis, my bad, because they just drafted him in the second round. But, I mean, filling out a position of need. I like Skoronski a lot. Very good prospect. I'm giving this an A+.
I would have given this... Before day 2, I would have probably given this a B- because I think they really needed a quarterback with Levis on the board. I think they could have taken him there. But now, seeing in the future that they ended up getting Levis in the second round, I'll give it an A-. He's one of the best tackles in the league. Plus, they lost a lot of pieces on that offensive line, like a Taylor Lewan. Yeah. They had to let go because of cap reasons. I think that was a good pick for them. And, like we said with the tackles, they're usually going to transition well. So he's going to help out the new quarterback, Will Levis. So, yeah, good pick. I'll give it a, what did I say, A-?
A-, I believe, yeah.
I'll stay with
your
A-.
boy.
Now at number 12, here's where we're going to get controversial on the grades. For me, you know what? Obviously, 12 for Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of high. But you know what? I'll give it a B-. Like, I love the player, I love the prospect, but yet again, like I said with Bijan, players I like, but running backs this high, it's kind of questionable.
Because if they don't pan out, I mean, you just spent all this draft capital on a running back, whereas you could have gotten a receiver, let's say, who probably make more sense drafting in the first round, but I mean, I don't like this pick at all. I'm going to give them a C+.
I'll give it I said B-, but I'll change it up to a B. I think they got one of the better, he's going to be a great running back for them, Alvin Kamara type. So,
I think they will. If they needed help on that defense bad, and they just
you think they should have taken Gonzalez?
I think Gonzalez here would have been a perfect spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad with Gonzalez. I think I would have given them probably a higher grade if they did go with Gonzalez. But I like Gibbs. I got maybe there's a bit of bias in me, but You'll see. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is gonna be very good for him. Next up, another player you don't, another pick you didn't really
Another
like.
pick I didn't really appreciate. Green Bay going Lucas Van Ness, edge out of Iowa. I mean, as an edge rusher, he looks interesting, but when you got guys like at number 30, Nolan Smith still on the board, I think you just made the wrong choice here. And especially with that offense, seeing as how bad it was last year, you don't address any need there. Young quarterback coming in, first time playing, and don't help him out. You need the pieces on that O-line as well. You don't address that, you go and get an edge rusher.
For me, what would be your grade though?
I would give this a C.
For me, I'm giving it an A minus. Like, I really like the pick for them, because right now they're not in a position to really compete. Green Bay, I think, after trading Rodgers, you kind of give in to that. They get a good piece on their. They get an edge rusher, which you don't really have on their team. Unless I'm missing anyone, they don't have an edge rusher, so you're getting someone. And he's been climbing up the draft boards. A lot of teams really liked him, so he definitely would have gone in the next few picks. I think a team like New York would have definitely snatched him up if he was still on the board. I like the pick for them. They're really in a rebuild now, so taking the best player available is always going to be good for them. So I like the pick. I'd give it A minus, like I said.
All right, what do you think about number 14 and the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, they moved up from 17 to get Broderick Jones out of Georgia. We see a lot of Georgia players going in this draft since they were the best team for the past 2 seasons. I think for Pittsburgh, they solidify an offensive line. Well, not solidify. They get one piece on offensive line, which is absolutely terrible, probably one of the worst in the league. And I think there's not much to really be said about this pick. I think it's a good pick. Offensive tackle, kind of a boring position to really talk about, but it's a position that's very important in the NFL.
Yeah, the trenches are serious, man. You see all these amazing D-lines being built. You got to have a good O-line to counter that, and I think the Steelers hit pretty good here, only costing them basically swapping first and a fourth. I think getting Broderick Jones here at 14 was a great pick.
I'm also going to give them a B+.
I'm giving them an A here. I think the Steelers made a great pick here.
Next up, Will McDonald. Here's where my grades are going to start going down, these next 2 picks. Will McDonald going to the Jets at 15, the pick they swapped with Green Bay in the Aaron Rodgers trade, sorry. I don't know. I think we said it earlier when I said they were losers. Like, there was a lot of players they could have gone here. Like, they could have gone Gonzalez. Their corners aren't like solidified besides Sauce. I think they could have gone Gonzalez. I think they could have gone who I had put in my mock draft, Kalijah Kancey, who ended up going to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked him better. Jackson Smith and
Kalijah Kancey with Quinnen Williams.
Exactly. I think that would have been a great duo on that defensive line. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba would have really been my pick number 1 there, because if you pair those 2 guys back together, plus you just got Rodgers, like JSN to replace Elijah Moore, who just got rid of, plus Lazard. I think that would have made them big on a contender this year.
No, I agree. I don't like this pick at all, and I mean, I think you pretty much covered everything. Just gonna go straight in here and give this a C+.
I'm giving my first F. I think this is a like you said with Gibbs. I think it's a complete whiff. I'm giving it an F. I'm not a big fan of Will McDonald.
Speaking of Fs, I got my first F coming up at pick number 16. The Commanders going Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez, and I do not understand this pick whatsoever. I mean, maybe they see something we don't. Obviously, we're just fans speaking behind a camera, but I just think Christian Gonzalez is going to be the better prospect. I don't know why they didn't go Gonzalez here. I think they just completely whiffed, and the Commanders take a huge F in my books.
But even if you don't like Gonzalez, like, there's still Deontay Banks as well, who
still
I think was
Kalijah Kancey.
In terms of corners, I still think like Gonzalez, Banks were better prospects. Like, was Forbes? I'm not too like I don't know much about Emmanuel Forbes, so maybe there's something I'm missing here. But like, was he even projected to go in the first round? Like, I don't know if
he was projected to go in the first round. If I'm being honest, I can go take a look at his stats real quick.
I know he has a lot of, from watching the broadcast of the draft. Like, I know he had a lot of picks and.
He was definitely a ball hawk, but I think he had a lot of issues in coverage.
I don't know, taking an undersized ball hawk at 16, kind of when there's a lot of better players at the same position. I think it's a whiff. I don't know if I'll probably give it an F as well. Honestly, 2 picks in a row. 2 teams, the Commanders and Jets, 2 teams are all my losers.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think right after that, we go from lows of the draft to an absolute high. The Patriots taking Christian Gonzalez here, which was an absolute gift. I don't know if they read minds. Bill Belichick's a mind reader, whatever he is, but absolute phenomenal player here at 17. I think this is going to be cornerback 1 starting this year. Honestly, I think he has a very good case of being cornerback 1 of that Pats team. And I think they just have a stud in Christian Gonzalez right here.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much really to be said. We've been talking about him. I feel like we've been talking about him the whole whole recap because he should have been gone so much earlier. So many teams passed on him, and I should have taken him. My grade here is definitely A+. This was you could have missed pick. Like,
yeah, you gotta be calm, be patient. I think they made this pick pretty fast too when I was watching it. But
yeah, the pick was in.
Very quickly. I mean, good on the Patriots taking Christian Gonzalez. But at 18, I got the Lions taking Jack Campbell. I mean, maybe they took him for the name. Campbell wanted a subordinate. He wanted another JC on the team to break some kneecaps. But I just don't understand this pick.
I think, like I said earlier, it's a position in need. They get the best linebacker in the draft. None of these linebackers were actually projected to go in the first round. There was another one that went, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No,
there wasn't. Oh, so he's the only linebacker.
Round 1.
Yeah, it could look. It could be. It's a questionable pick, but a team like Detroit, who has done very well in the draft in recent years, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here on a position they do need. You know, yeah, I'm gonna give it a probably a D. It's a big reach.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D-. I don't like this pick at all. You had JSN in your grasps, pair him alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown,
yeah, but I don't
Elijah Cansey.
Just
you could have gone so many other routes. You could have gone Dante Banks out that secondary. You could have done so much, and then you go take Jack Campbell. I mean, we spoke about him earlier. I don't like him. I think, well, not that I don't like him. I don't like him this early.
Yeah.
I think they could have had better players, and I just think they whiffed here. I'm gonna give them a D-.
I'm actually gonna change my grade. I'll give it a C- just because with the loss of Tremaine Edmonds, you needed a linebacker, so that
D-.
that fills the need. But my pick here would have probably been. Who'd you say your pick would have been?
I think right here I would have went Dante Banks.
I'd be inclined to agree with that. I think Dante Banks was probably the best pick here.
Yeah, and moving on, we got 19. We got the Bucks going after Elijah Cansey, D tackle out of Pittsburgh, and I like this pick a lot. I think he's an absolute dog. People were mocking him earlier. He went down to the Bucks, got him at 19. Filling out desperate needs that they have lost with Vita Vea. Haven't really been able to fill that role. And I think they hit a dog.
Yeah, I agree. I also really like Elijah Cansey. I think he's one of the players in this draft that can take over a game on his own. He's super dominant as a tackle. I think good on Tampa. They're also not going to be competing this year, so they take a player that can help them for the future. I really like this pick. I'll give it an A.
I'm going to give it an A as well. I think this was a very solid pick. And
here we go, number 20. This is the one. When the pick was being made, when Seattle was on the call, I had texted you. I told you, I'm like, I had texted you at about 17, 18. And those picks, I'm like, I felt a feeling JSN's gonna fall to Seattle. I hope I'm wrong, but I wasn't wrong. Obviously, when they were on the clock, this was the most nervous I was all night. Like there's no way we can let Seattle get JSN at 20 fall into their hands. And what happens? I heard Roger Goodell go up to that on the stage.
He called in a kid. It wasn't even him.
Yeah. I heard him call Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, and man, was I devastated seeing him go to Seattle. Now they got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith, and
Kenneth
Jigba.
Walker,
and Zach Charbonnet.
And Geno Smith.
I'm going to give this an A. Like, as much as I hate that he went there, this is an A+. He should have been off the board at around 15, 14, 13, where Detroit went 12. Like, he should have been off the board a long time ago. And for Seattle, yet again, 2 years in a row to get steals in the draft, it's just demoralizing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you. There's not much to be said here. I think they just got an absolute steal at 20 in JSN. I think he's going to dominate that offense. And, Tyler Lockett is getting a little older, although he's not that old. I think JSN is the perfect number 2 to pair him alongside a DK, and maybe Tyler Lockett as a 3. Just this wide receiver room is amazing now. I don't see many teams having a better receiving group than these guys. And I think they just absolutely hit on Jackson Smith over here at 20 and giving them an A+.
What receiver room would you rather have right now? Cincinnati's with Chase, Higgins, and Boyd, Or would you take Seattle?
I think I'm gonna take Seattle's. This is just elite. They got the speed. They got the size. They got just everything.
I'm gonna still side with Cincinnati because you got like a top 5 receiver.
Yes,
DK Metcalf. I don't even think DK Metcalf's top 10. So I think
you can make a
just
case.
off the top end talent, I'm gonna ride with Cincy for that.
Fine. I'm not gonna argue that it is close. I don't know. I really like JSN. I think he's gonna be an absolute dog.
Anyway, this was the start of the receiver run. Sorry,
a little receiver train starting after this.
At 21, we see Quentin Johnson out of TCU go to the Chargers. I really like this pick. I think we've seen how much the injuries at that position affected the Chargers this season with how injury-prone Mike Williams and Keenan Allen really are. I think you get a downfield threat in Quentin Johnson. He fits in very well there. And yeah, I like the pick.
I like this pick as well, and his one very important thing is he's not injury prone.
Yeah.
So he's going to be durable. He's going to be around all season, and the Chargers found their guy. Hopefully, if all three of them can stay healthy, this can be another elite wide receiver group. And I like the pick.
Because they even got Josh Palmer as a 4. So
I really like the pick. I have nothing negative about this pick. I'm going to give them a solid A on this one.
I'm gonna give it an A-. I don't think it's as good as like a Gonzalez or JSN, but it's a very good pick for what they needed. Now at 22, like we said, another wide receiver, Zay Flowers, going to Baltimore. I really like this pick as well. I think I'm going to give it an A because it was either going to be this or they're going to go get a guy like D-Hop. I think now the D-Hop hype
kind of died down.
Is kind of dead. I think I really like this pick. Him, Odell, plus on the same day that you re-sign Lamar.
Just keep giving him gifts, like he said. You keep giving me gifts.
So I like that pick. I'm going to give it an A. Very solid.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Give this an A. For fun facts, I was reading this up. Zay Flowers is the first ever Boston College player to get selected in the first round.
Any position.
Just
crazy.
First ever, which is amazing. I hope he does well in Baltimore. I think him and Lamar can have some fun, and I just can't wait to see this offense turn into this little pass-heavy machine that they're starting to build up now instead of that run-heavy sort of thing they got going for themselves.
Well, we see all the great teams are. Well, they run the ball actually.
All the great teams have a very good quarterback.
Yeah, they have to be able to do both.
Yeah, you have to be able to do both, and you have to have a great O-line. I've noticed.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Because
all the great teams have off the top of your head, who would you say are the best offensive lines at the NFL? Number 1, Philly. Look where they go.
Yeah, Kansas is top 5 for sure.
Kansas City has a top offensive line. They get to the top all the time.
Yeah, I'd have to give Dallas maybe has a very good O-line.
San Francisco's is solid.
They
always get
Cincinnati built a good O-line through free agency.
That's the only team I think is the exception because they have such great weapons and great quarterback, great weapons.
But they're starting to build an O-line. They had no choice. Last year they kept going this year. And
they got Orlando Brown. Huh?
They're going to just be, I think building an O-line is very important, and we see it in a lot of teams. But anyways.
No, let's move on. Take the stage. Take
number
the floor.
23, I got your Minnesota Vikings taking Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC, which fills a desperate need, a wide receiver too that the Vikings had. Obviously, I like Jordan Addison. I love his speed, down the field threat ability, able to make plays in very small windows. I think pairing this guy with Justin Jefferson is going to be phenomenal. I think I mentioned this earlier. You got JJ commanding double team, then you got TJ Hawkinson over the middle and Jordan Addison out wide. If you give Jordan Addison 107 targets, he's going to convert that into easily over 1,200 yards, in my opinion.
Unlike
Adam Thielen, and I just really like this pick, Jordan Addison. You could have made a case to go corner here, and I understand that there's a desperate need. It's just I trust in Brian Flores, and I believe in whatever he does with the defense. I think we needed a wide receiver too badly. I did not like our receiving group without Jefferson. Obviously, I did not like our 3, 4, 5. This is a great pick here.
Yeah, I agree also. Like, they needed a wide receiver too. Maybe a corner, like we're going to go on the next pick, Deontay Banks. I think it was between those two and who they were going to take. Who would you actually prefer? Like, who do you prefer?
I prefer Jordan Addison over Deontay Banks, honestly.
Yeah, because you're getting he could be a wide receiver 1 type talent. You're getting him now playing alongside Justin Jefferson out wide. That's going to be he's going to be great for them, and my grade would be similar to the Chargers, A-.
I'm going to give it a B+ just because, yes, we did need that corner, and yes, you can make a case that corners were better than the receiver here, but I like the pick. I still think they made the right one. I'm going to give it a B+ just because there might have been better talent on the board. I wouldn't have changed it, though.
Yeah, let's move on now. 24. New York Giants take the
Deontay Banks.
The potential Minnesota Viking could have been Deontay Banks out of Maryland. I think also a team like New York, they need help in the secondary. They don't have much at all, especially at the corner spot. I think this was a no-brainer for them to take Deontay Banks. I'm going to give that a B+. We're going to start, anyway, for these picks coming up now, we're going to start giving less of analysis here. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Deontay, but what's going to be your grade? Mine's going to be B+.
I like Deontay Banks. Obviously, he wasn't the best corner in the draft, but I think solid pick here for the Giants, moving up, filling out a position they desperately needed. I'm going to give them a B+ here as well. I like this pick.
Next up, Dalton Kincaid, the best tight end in the draft, goes to Buffalo. This I'm going to give an A. Like, I really like this fit. They need a second pass. We know Dalton Kincaid's a target machine. Like, he's very good in the passing game. He's really a receiver playing tight end. I think he's going to be very good. And fantasy, I don't want to talk too much about the fantasy, but I think fantasy-wise,
we got videos coming up for that.
and I think he's going to be very good fantasy-wise, at least, because he's going to demand a lot of targets. Because I'm not too convinced on guys like Gabe Davis and Khalil Shakir.
No, I think the Gabe Davis train just sort of died out this season. I mean, you saw maybe 2 years ago in the postseason, he dominated, and everyone was like, "Oh, Gabe Davis," but no, no, he's not it. He's not it.
So yeah, I think this is really going to help their passing game.
And 26.
What was your grade for Kincaid?
Kincaid, I'm gonna give it a B+.
B+.
Just because I think there was a better tight end available.
You like Mayer better?
I like Mayer better. That's just personal preference, obviously, but I'll give them a B+ just because I think Mayer's the better tight end. But like I said, personal preference. I still think he's gonna fill in a hole that they desperately need. I think Kincaid's gonna command targets like Brandon had mentioned, and just be an absolute dog for that Buffalo Bills team.
That's why I think like all around tight end, I think Mayer's probably better. But for a fit that Buffalo needs, like they need a guy that can catch passes. I think Kincaid's probably the better fit. So that's why I'm gonna give it an A. Now at 26, we got the Dallas Cowboys taking Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle out of Michigan. I like this pick. Another guy that could help a very good front for Dallas.
They needed help on that D-line. They got very, very good edge rushers. Yeah. But the interior was lacking a little, and teams were able to run it down Dallas' throat. Mozzie Smith over here out of Michigan can potentially fill that hole and plug up that run. Good pick here. I like it.
Did you see Michael Parsons on the Bleacher Report live stream?
What did he say? He was hyped.
He was hyped. He was hyped up for this pick, and he even showed one of the people on there. I'm not sure who his name is, but he showed him a text that he had sent to
Mozzie.
I think it was to Jerry Jones.
Oh, shit.
Saying take Mozzie Smith. So he was very happy with that pick. I think I'm going to give it A-.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. Give it an A-. I don't want to see Dallas succeed, but they hit really good here. I can't even deny that.
Next up, Jacksonville, Anton Harrison, tackle out of Oklahoma. I'm not going to lie here. I don't know nothing about this guy.
I don't know nothing about Anton Harrison either. I
see it's a tackle. Jacksonville needs a tackle, helps out protecting Trevor Lawrence, but yeah, we're not gonna go on too long about this one. I'm not even gonna give it a grade, honestly.
I won't give it a grade. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with Anton Harrison.
Before the pick got made, I didn't really know who this was, so yeah, we'll move on to the number 28, Miles Murphy, edge out of Clemson. This is a guy I know. I'm pretty sure in my mock draft I had him in the top 10. Like he dropped quite a bit. I think because of injury concerns. I think this is very good for Cincinnati, a team who, besides like a Trey Hendrickson, not really much.
They don't got really much going after the quarterback, and I feel like they figured that out with Miles Murphy.
Yeah, I think he could end up being a guy that we look back and he could be a top 15, top 10 player in this draft. I really like this good value pick for Cincinnati. I thought they were gonna go running back here. I thought they might have reached on Charbonnet here, but they didn't end up doing it. They fill out better with Miles Murphy, so I'm gonna give it an A.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this an A as well. I think, like you had mentioned earlier, he slipped quite a bit, and obviously there's injury concern there, but I think with a talent like Miles Murphy, you can't be too scared, and Cincinnati pulled the trigger, and I think they absolutely hit on Miles Murphy here at 28.
Next up, 29, New Orleans Saints take Brian Breesy out of Clemson, another Clemson defender. I like this pick. I think I like Brian Breesy. He's a solid. It just I don't know. I like the pick, but New Orleans are. I feel they're just there. Like they're one of those teams. They're like middle of the pack. They didn't have their first rounder this year. They gave it to fucking Philly
Again.
I don't know. New Orleans just what do they need? Do they need Brian? Like what do they? What does New Orleans even need? I don't know why. I don't know why I just suddenly went on this rant on New Orleans.
Something about New Orleans.
What's the point?
Why does New Orleans exist? Like,
Exactly.
honestly, But honestly, Brian Breesy, decent tackle. I like this pick, but I feel like they missed out on someone else if they wanted the certain player on defense we're going to speak about very soon.
Like, they're adding him to an already pretty good defense, but, like, it's New Orleans, man. I'll give it a B. Like, whatever. It's a good pick.
I'm going to give it a B minus just because I think there was better player available and they did not take them. And speaking of the better player, number 30,
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith going to Philadelphia, once again making an absolute phenomenal pick here, bolstering that already elite defense. Did not need much help. I think they got an absolute steal at 30 on Nolan Smith.
They're stacked, man.
They're stacked on defense. Imagine Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the same team.
I really thought we were speaking about the Jets and how bad of a pick. I thought the Jets were gonna snatch him. That's where I thought he was gonna go. I think that would have been a much better pick for them. So I'm gonna give this A+.
I'm giving this an A+. It's an absolute steal at 30.
An A+ draft class from them. A++ draft.
Eagles just
Eagles.
A triple plus. Literally, no complaints here.
And the last pick of the draft, 31st pick out of Kansas State, going to Kansas City, Felix Anduke Uzoma. Again, I'm not going to lie again here. This is a guy I'm not too familiar with.
I feel like I'm not too familiar with him, but I was looking at some names on the board still available, and I think they reached a little here. But obviously, they're filling a position of need. Maybe they know some more information than us, and I'm going to give this a B minus.
So, yeah, I'll give it a... I'm not going to really give it a grade. I'm not too familiar with this guy. Anyway, do you want to go over the second and third round, like just not obviously not the whole thing, but guys, interesting picks like Will Levis?
Yeah, we can mention something quick. Let me just pull out the whole big board. I want to see where everyone went.
The obvious one to talk about, Will Levis. I think it's a good, like, they need a quarterback. Is he really gonna be a quarterback of the future? I think, I just think his processing, Will Levis, isn't good enough. I think he gets too excited. Like he throws a lot of bad balls, like a lot of picks. I just think, anyway, in the second round, I think it's a risk it's worth taking.
Yeah, I think.
But
so
I
too.
just don't think I think they're going to be coming back next year in the draft, Tennessee, and they're going to be taking a quarterback again. Like, I don't think he'll be the answer.
For the third year in a row, Tennessee's drafting a quarterback in the draft.
It could be. What do you think about Levis?
I mean, obviously, people love Levis. People hate Levis. I wasn't a big fan of Will Levis, and when I saw the Vikings go up on the board and he was still there, I was praying we didn't take him. I was so happy they didn't. But I do think Tennessee needed a quarterback, and they think this is their guy. So, like you had mentioned earlier, you thought they were going to take him earlier in the first round, but they actually didn't. They ended up holding off until the second. So,
I think for that, though, give the grade a B+, just because, like, you
Great
got good
value
value
pick.
on him, but how good he actually is, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be that great.
Joey Porter to the Steelers at 32. I think this was an excellent pick.
Yeah,
we were mocking them first rounder. End up getting him around 2 first pick.
Another guy I want to give a shout out to, is, in case anyone didn't know, here we're from Montreal. We see a Montrealer, Matthew Bergeron, goes to Atlanta.
The big tackle.
This is the second highest drafted player from Montreal. I'm pretty sure I'd seen a stat like that. So, fair, good on him. Atlanta got a good one in Matthew Bergeron. We see Jonathan Mingo, a potential wide receiver 1 for Carolina after they lose DJ Moore. We see Luke Musgrave go to Green Bay. Oh, that's who it was. No, it wasn't. Where'd Sam Laporta go? Okay, it was Detroit. I mixed that up there. Luke Musgrave, they got Green Bay.
We got Zach Charbonnet at 21.
Brian Branch, I think, for Detroit. You didn't like Detroit draft. This was a steal.
This was a steal. I have to admit, at 45th overall, 14th in the second round, Brian Branch was an absolute steal for Detroit. Cornerback out of Bama.
This guy was in the green room. Like, he was projected to really go high. So
I think it was a great pick. Also, Zach Charbonnet going to Seattle. I like that. You got that 2-man committee now. You can run, you can threaten both sides of the ball.
For fantasy purposes, I think in the rookie drafts, this drops it to a second-round player. But I think real life-wise, I think this is a very good pick. That's a backup for Kenneth Walker.
I agree. Marvin Mims going 32 to Denver.
I think Rashee Rice also is going to be good in a high-powered KC offense since they lost Juju.
That's true. I just don't trust Denver on their offense.
Yeah, you talked about Marvin Mims, right?
Yeah, I mentioned them real quick.
I don't know how I like the fit there. I really like Marvin Mims as a prospect and his yak ability, but yeah, I don't know about.
I don't trust
Denver as a
Russ.
fit, yeah, but even they got so much competition there though. Like they have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick to come back, which I think Tim Patrick coming off his injury is going to be very good. But yeah, I think we covered what we really got to cover here. I think you want to close us out here?
Thank you guys once again for tuning in, listening to the episode. We hope you enjoyed and appreciate it. Did a little draft review for you guys, and see you guys next week. We're going to bring you up some more news and rumors, let you know how the rookies are fitting into their new squads. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and write a comment down below. It helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. Anyways, guys, until next time, see ya.
Bye.
I think that was solid.
I'm going to take it off at the same time.
Wait, hold on. Fuck. Holy shit.